Oh, good day, everyone. I'm so sorry. I just went to go put some stuff away. Is everyone well?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm well,
okay.
thank you. And you?
Very well. Nice to see everyone here. So we did run into a bit of a issue. One of our panelists, our first one, unfortunately, Richard Labrosse, he's held up at the moment, and he's not going to be able to take up the position that he was supposed to in terms of in the order of the program. So where he was supposed to go first, between 4:15 and 4:25, is there any one of you guys who are willing to take up that position, who is willing to open for us? Also, I'm so sorry, this is not my Zoom account. I'm Nonkululego, I'm not Kareem. I'll change that. But yes, is there anyone willing to take that position?
Okay, I'll quickly open the program and see on my phone.
Yeah, I think on the program we have, after the intervention of Richard, we have Sarah and Yugbare Bubakar. After Sarah, we have Yugbare Bubakar.
Yeah, I think I can go first, no problem. Actually, it would be good for me because, as I had informed Catholic, I may need to run quite early.
Oh yes, we did note that. Okay, that would be actually awesome. Let the woman open the way as usual. All right. So then we'll just swap you with El Haji. I'm hoping that you're taking notes since you're going to be the one announcing all of this. But yes, we're just going to have to trade places in that regard. So it's going to be then right after, it's going to be Sarah first. And then hopefully by that time, I think it's going to be Sarah, and then you, I'm so sorry. It's Yukbare. I think then you can go after Sarah still. And then when Richard joins us, he'll go last. Is that all right?
That is okay for me. Hello, everybody. Hello, Pap. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you, Yugbare? Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm fine. And you?
Okay.
I would like to ask, how many minutes do we have for this discussion, each person?
It's going to be 10 minutes.
Okay. That's like for the start, or that's in total?
No, so everyone has 10 minutes for their presentation, and then we just have a question and answer section for about 20 minutes.
Because I had thought I would speak about the youth initiatives, and then maybe if time allows, young women, how they can actively join politics. But I'll go with what is on the menu for now.
Actually, it's so sad that we won't get to hear any of that. That actually sounds really, really interesting. Okay, well, I think maybe because we have a question and answer for 20 minutes, and we also have a discussion for 20 minutes. So if you're not gone by then, perhaps we can hear we can fit it into the discussion, because I'm sure some of our attendees will be very keen to hear what you have to say in regards to that.
Yeah, no problem. If time doesn't allow, we can always have this in another webinar. No worries.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone?
Hey, Kat.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Nonko, I'm finishing up the background and then I'll send it to you now, ne?
Lovely, no problem.
Okay, cool then. Just extracting the quotes that I got from the speakers and we're ready to go. Yeah, I guess Richard is not here, right?
Yes, we've swapped. So Sarah has graciously volunteered to go first, and then we'll be followed by Yukbare, and then when Richard comes, he'll be the last.
Okay, cool then. No problem. No problem at all. Thank you very much. Once again, guys, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. I know that it was short notice, but thank you for availing yourselves and to be willing to do this with us.
You're welcome. We look forward
Thanks.
to a very engaging afternoon.
Definitely,
Full of
definitely.
learning.
You're
Yeah.
welcome, bro.
Yes, yes.
I see that there's just a few attendees here with us. Thank you for being early birds. We're not rejecting you. We're just going through our technicalities, but we will be starting. We're hoping to be starting at the given time. But thank you to everyone for showing up. And yeah, we look forward to a great discussion with all of you as well. Okay.
Okay, if people have joined us yet, Hi guys, just wanted to alert you that we have a minute to start. I hope that everyone is ready and still feeling excited. So, El Haji, you'll go after me, right?
Yes, I will go after you.
Yes, you'll go
That's
after
fine.
me. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We can begin. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Minds webinar series. Today is episode 3, and we're looking forward to hosting you to discuss enhancing youth participation in elections and governance processes. Today I'm not alone. I am joined by my colleagues. I'm joined by my African brothers and sisters, and I'm joined by Minds alumni. So Minds alumni are some of the young people that have gone through our youth trainings and youth dialogues that have attended our youth dialogues. And I'd like to welcome them today. We are really glad to be hosting such bright minds today. We have El Haji from Senegal, who is our Minds alumni. We also have Boubacar Yukbare from Burkina Faso. We also have Ms. Sarah, who's our Minds alumni, and we are awaiting our another panelist. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it on time due to the fact that he's been on the campaign trail. And his name is Mr. Richard Labrosi from the Seychelles. We hope that he'll join us as soon as possible. But we do look forward, to engaging everyone today. We urge you that you follow us on our social media pages at Minds Africa on Facebook, at Minds Africa on Twitter, and Minds Africa on Instagram. Please engage us. Please tweet. Please keep those questions coming. I'm pretty sure that our panelists today will be glad to answer some of your questions. And just throw in those questions. Don't be afraid to engage them. Don't be afraid at all. These are very great young people from across the continent. Some of them have led African institutions, so we really are happy to be welcoming these young people and re-engaging them, within our Minds program. Without saying a lot, I would like for Mr. Al Haji, who will be working as our facilitator today, to kickstart the conversation. And Mr. Al Haji will basically be facilitating and engaging with everyone on this platform. So can we please welcome him and engage him as best as we can. He's an amazing person, and yes, Mr. Al Haji, we look forward to your facilitation, and may you kick us off, sir.
Thank you, Katleho. Thank you, Minds, for organizing this webinar. This very important webinar, I think, on the thematic of enhancing youth participation in election and governance in Africa. This topic is very important for us as youth leaders and participating in the development of the country. I'm very pleased to welcome our panelist, Mrs. Sarah Natumanya, who is a student of the University of Bristol in the UK and also a Mind alumni. We also have on the panel Mr. Yukbare Boubacar, Program Officer in the African Union Center for Girls and Women Education. He's also a Mind alumni. And we'll have also discussions with all the followers on this chat to have questions regarding to the youth participation in the election and governance in Africa. Before we start, I just want to highlight, just want to talk about a bit on the thematic, but it's very important. If we generally, according to the United Nations in Africa, we had 226 million youth aged between between 15 to 25 living in Africa. And the young people between the age of 15 35 constitute the third of Africa population. This is why this is very important. The rate is high. However, youth influence on national politics remain limited. We observe it since a couple of 10 years right now in the continent, in the global continent, who participation of youth on the democratic process relating to the election in some country. And I can assess, I can give some example, like specifically in Africa, generally, youth are more involved in the process of participating in the election. We have civil rights movement, we have civil youth association, we have civic engagement at different level, and they participate. They want to be involved in the whole process to participate in the election and support the democracy at the continent level. We have in Senegal, when I take an example, some association like Yanamar, who launched during the last electional voting process that we had here. They launched the campaign, My Voting Card, My Weapon, to encourage youth to participate in the electoral process. We can share the example of Ivory Coast, Foscawo, who mobilized youth participation in election during the last election in Ivory Coast. We also have some civil youth movement at the national continent. I can share the example of Burkina Faso with Ballet Citoyen, who promote civic engagement, who promote youth participation. And I think Ballet can share with us a lot on that. We also have Filimbi in DRC, Democratic Republic Congo, who work in their country, who promote youth participation in election and governance. Lastly, last month, since right now 3 or 4 months, we had in Guinea, in Conakry, Guinea, we had Amulanfe. Amulanfe is youth are fighting, and youth are saying no to the third term for the president, for the actual president. He wants to run a third term, and youth are saying no, this is not legal, this is illegal. Youth are participating at the national level. We also have some kind of initiative in Central, in East, in South Africa. Globally, when we observe the situation in Africa and relating to the youth participation in election and governance, we see these last 10 years, more youth are very engaging, more youth are wanting to participate and I think it is very important. To go deep on this thematic, I can introduce right now, I'm just introducing right now, Mrs. Sarah Natumanya, to put a spotlight on the initiative driven by young people to enhance youth participation in their country. Sarah, you have the floor. We'll have 10 minutes for each presentation, for each speaker. Sarah, and after that we can take the input for you, Balai Boubacar. Sarah, welcome, and you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Haji, and thank you everyone who has joined in this afternoon to be part of this conversation of amplifying our voices in politics and governance. I'd like to appreciate Minds for this opportunity given to me to share my thoughts about the same. So I'll specifically speak about Uganda this afternoon, given that we are headed into general elections in 2021, where I think the country has registered a significant number of young people's interest in joining politics compared to the past. And I think this is because the young people in Uganda have finally realized how important it is for them to be part of the leadership, to be part of national building, to be part of policing through joining active politics. And in this perspective, they have demonstrated great efforts to enhance their participation. For example, they have presented themselves as candidates for the different positions based on the national constitution. They have also joined different political parties in their societies in Uganda. And then also they have registered as eligible voters. I think these are very fundamental interventions, especially before the election event themselves. But in general, the young people can enhance their participation through different initiatives. For example, civic education from different societies in schools, in universities. You find that the young generation, they are continuously spreading political messages with the purpose of challenging the existing policies, which could be a barrier for their participation. Like in Uganda, we have an issue of high nomination fees, which for some time has been challenging for young people to participate in different positions like members of parliament or the presidential seat. But recently, the young generation, they've been advocating for that policy to change. And the last I read, the Ugandan Speaker of Parliament had promised to table a bill in Parliament to change that amount so that it's a little bit inclusive. Then also, they have joined different societies to network and break into the political circles through civic engagement again, through volunteering, and then through networking. You find most of the challenges that we face as the young generation while we want to join politics. People will tell us we do not have skills, we do not have experience, we do not have the knowledge to lobby, the knowledge to organize and chair meetings. But through activities such as volunteering within the different societies that we come from has really enhanced and broadened our knowledge in terms of political participation. But however, while that is still the case, we cannot underlook the fact that Africa and maybe Uganda particularly are grappling with massive youth unemployment. And as a result, their participation in politics, the possibilities are narrowed down because of the socio-economic challenges. And as you know, currently the African politics is a bit commercialized, not just a bit, but highly commercialized. So for you to come up and stand as a candidate, you need to have resources, you need to have money, you need to have funders. So this has been a challenge for the young generation. And I read a study by the Uganda Youth Network, which indicated that so many young people marshal themselves for political positions, but at the end of the day, their candidature is exchanged for financial benefits and promises for prestigious job offers by the elites and the old politicians. This is something which I think is a burden. And as such, for the young people to be active politicians or to broaden their possibilities of politics, first of all, they need to be active economic agents so that their voices and their positions are not taken for granted. Because once these, the elite politicians, the incumbents know that you have a challenge, you have financial issues, definitely they will propose to get an exchange with you, which is still a burden on the African continent. Another challenge actually has also, for example, like in Uganda right now, we are going for scientific elections, I should say. These are virtual elections where you're reaching your voters through the media, radio stations and TV. Because of the pandemic, physical rallies have been stopped, But this seems to work against the young people who still are struggling with resources. And when you look at the statistics, most of the media houses, especially radios in Uganda, are owned by the rich incumbent politicians. And these are the people that the young generation is coming to battle with for the different positions. So you find the young ones are limited. So still, I think, while we may say that the young people have an advantage of using social media to reach out to their voters, it is still hard when you look at the divide of internet use between the different communities, the rich and the poor, and the urban and the rural. So you find internet use is only in the city centers and for the educated. And yet the illiterate group who are actually make part of the biggest voters group, they do not have internet, and so they cannot be reached through social media. So yeah, those are the different sides. Well, say that young people have come up, have joined different parties, have showed efforts to participate in politics. There are also impediments which circumvent their participation.
Thank you, Sarah, for your input and regarding the youth participation in election and governance. In terms of perspective from your view, from your side, if how we can now promote, better youth participation in election and governance in Africa, in terms from your experience, from the case of your country, and from your view.
First of all, as Minds has done, is to encourage young people to come up, no matter the case, whether you're poor and maybe you do not have the resources, put your ideas together, present them to the people, present them to communities, show the people that leadership is beyond money, and then try to change the mindsets. But practically, this is really hard because, as you see, the African continent, where we have the biggest group of voters living under the poverty line, whoever comes with the money convinces the voter. Like basically, elections are commercialized, votes are for buying. I've seen different politicians give physical cash to voters. I've seen different politicians go with gifts, for example, soap, cooking oil. These are all investments that the young generation cannot afford. But I think, as I mentioned earlier, joining the different communities through social service and volunteering can have a key to breakthrough. Much as someone is willing to receive, let me say, the £1 or $1 from a politician, eventually I think when they go to vote, they know who exactly can contribute to solving social problems other than throwing money at issues.
Thank you. Very, very, very useful insight from your perspective. I think it is very important to engage with local communities on the ground around social services and volunteering, and you participate to the life and their community. I will give the floor to Mr. Yugbare Boubacar, Program Officer of African Union Center for Girls and Women. Yugbare will tell us how youth can comprehend how youth are exploiting available platform to mark their numerical advantage to create society what they want. Yugbare, if you are here, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Pap, and thanks to Sarah for this insightful information that you shared with us. And I also would like to take the opportunity to thank Minds for this platform and engaging this discussion on this important topic. And I might confess that this has been one of main topic that I've been fighting for since long. Just introduce, he's introducing, saying that I'm working at the African Union International Center for Girls and Women Education. But before that, I've been chairing, I was the chairperson of the African Youth Commission, which is the continental youth platform that really working for youth voices to be heard in different platforms. And I may mention that I also ran for a seat at the parliament in 2015 in my country. Yes, I didn't got a seat, but I'm still dedicating myself to make sure that youth participate into governance processes. It's starting my intervention. I would like to point out an important aspect of this topic. Youth participation in governance has been recognized in some of political framework of political some policies at the continental level. I may name the African Youth Charter, where there are provision to allow youth participation into governance processes. It's important for youth to be on the platform where decisions are taken, because at the end of the day, there will be those who will be suffering from some of the bad decision or some of the unprepared decisions somehow. So these are the provision. This provision exists on continental policies, and it's important for countries that have managed to ratify these policies to make sure that they provide platform for youth to express themselves. It's important for that. And for your information, for maybe those who don't know, the African Youth Charter has been now has been adopted since 2006 in Banjul. We even call it the Banjul Charter, and some of the country are still having challenge with this charter, sometimes based on the slight definition that they have on youth, like the age range. But no matter how, it's important to provide platform for young people to voice, and because they are also numbers that the most important target group in any society. So, I would like to have a look on the issue into two ways. The first thing I may confess is that when you decide to enter into politics as a young person, there's how the society is looking at you, your own society. Look at around you. When you decide to run for a seat in a parliament, your friends will now even start telling you, oh, where did you get the money? If you have money, please share it with us now, and we'll now try to enjoy before, instead of wasting your money into politics. This is one of these reactions that you could get from your friends, but also from your family. They will tell you, are you not afraid to get involved into politics? Because like politics, it's a dirty place. It's a jungle. A lot of these apprehension, or you will have these views on you. This is normal. It's obvious, because the way we are seeing politics nowadays that's why we are having this type of impression on those who are on politics. And I'm also saying, if politics is dirty and we seem to be clean, then we need to go on the politics platform to make the politics clean. Somehow, it's a kind of trying to 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 to, to be the change that we want to see in our own community. So this is key. When you decide to get engaged into politics, there's a social environment, but there's also financial challenge, as Sarah mentioned. It's demand a lot of money, a lot of time, lot of engagement. And if you are not financially independent and you are relying on a salary, you cannot run a campaign based on a salary. But if you are well organized in terms of within the society, you could find your way to voice. It's only the way you voice yourself and giving the opportunity for people to hear from you that they can now decide to move. How do we use the existing platforms? Nowadays, it's obvious that we could be using the internet platform. I agree, we need to be financially autonomous. That's right, but you can also use instead of uh, spending your time posting on, on, on on Instagram and all these things. I don't know, doing these short videos with you, or can also be sharing like your perspective on how this your country can be handled. So these are the use of social media platforms can be an opportunity for young people because they are the most ease on this platform. And most of the time, some of the candidates are using young people to run the Facebook pages or the online platforms. This is important. Make sure that we control the social environment when we decide to get engaged into politics. And I was mentioning financial issues. When we decided in 2015 to get engaged into politics, people were asking us, where did you get the money? Because they have the perception that for someone to get involved into politics, you need first to get money. While getting engaged into politics for us means just I want to contribute to how my city will be governed. I want to have my voice heard in this, in the way we should run the country. And I may have a particular way of seeing things. I may have innovative ways on taking care of this country. You should give me the opportunity to express myself. But this is definitely a huge challenge because what's bring us to this situation? Because most of the population in some of the countries in the west, in the southern part of the Sahara, is like they don't have jobs, they're jobless. The most reliable person that comes to them to convince them politically is the person that is able to give them something right now. But we need to look at after the election what's coming after. But they have the assumption that all of us, those who are doing politics, they're all the same. They're liars. So they think that it's better to take the money now than keep expecting promises from someone that will be coming later. That may not even come. So these are some of the challenges that we face. And the third component is the experience. They're asking us to have experience. Okay, fine. We need experience. It's like when you finish your study at the university and you want to get a job, and they're asking you about experience. Where are you going to get the experience when you did not get an opportunity to work for the first time with someone? This is quite challenging. And the experience they're asking, I'm not convinced that those who spent like 5 years, 10 years into political parties, they're the best prepared to run a city, to run a country. Remember what happened to Burkina Faso? Papo mentioning some of the initiatives around some countries like Senegal with Yanama, DRC with Filimbe, even Burkina Faso we had Balasi. At some point, youth were upset on how things were running. And they wanted those who are running the country to know that they are upset. And this was key. When they decided to show them that they are really upset, and because there was an attempt for another term for the president, run again for another term. People were saying, no way, enough is enough. But because the young people understood the message, they went on the street. And they went on the street and they managed to get the power, to show the power that they have in their hand. That was one point. But sometimes also, at some point, we go on the street, we reach a stage where we get the power. And when we have the power in our hands, that's where we don't even know what to do with that power. And at some point, we're not even prepared to execute this power. And now we start now looking to experience people to come in. It's happened in Tunisia. You end up, after the revolution in Tunisia, we end up having a president like 85 or something. I'm not saying that he was the worst president or was not a good president, but the idea was like it's young people that went on. They managed to get the revolution, they managed to get the power, but at the end of the day, they couldn't place any young person to run the city. That's where sometimes we're being asked, you are not prepared for it. So we need to take a risk. It's the only way for us to be able to be on the platform. And we need to be examples. If you, in your own life, you're not an example, you cannot expect young people to vote for you to run the country. If you're not able to run your own business very well, to be a model, it's important to be a model to ensure that young people are looking at you. And because of what you're doing in your own arena, being a leader in your own environment, give the perspective of young people, giving you a chance to run in a better, a big city or a whole country. So this is what I can say for now, and I will still be available for any question or contribute
Thank you.
more.
Thank you, Bubakar, for this very important insight relating to how they can use technology or platform, such of kind of platform to be more engaged in youth election participation in the election. I have two questions. The first question for you is this kind of platform is most of the time is not open. Is my first question. The second question is how we can raise awareness in the continent at the level at the continent level to share this kind of platform for youth generally. And my last question is, what about technical skills using such kind of platform to promote youth participation or to promote civic engagement for youth around election and governance is need already they have skills, some technical skills. What about this kind of technical skills? Thank you.
You're really making an important point. Are we prepared to be on the digital spaces? That's the key question. And you mentioned that these platforms are not really open. But I may ask a question. How many, like if you take the case of Burkina Faso, I know I don't have the real fact, but I know that at least we have 1 million people. At least. Most of them are young people. At least they have a Facebook account somehow. They're not really on Twitter. Twitter is for basically for some of the Anglophone countries in the Western part. That's okay. And I don't know the numbers, but I know that there are a lot of people on TikTok. I don't know. Me, I'm not used to these social media things, but I know that young people are in those platforms. What I'm suggesting is to take benefit of being on those platforms. You make sure that you use those platforms. And at some point, if you get for sure you need money. How do we manage to get prepared to get that money? To raise awareness on what you want to do. And you can have like small strategy on raising money within your own community to make sure that you get kind of support. At some point you need support somehow. But I don't know technically how this platform can be open, but you make sure that we like it or not, we are moving to these digital spaces. Look at what happened to COVID-19. And at some point, like people were not even prepared, and then we end up closing schools, and then they realize that they will not open schools very soon, and then they say, okay, we need to now have online courses. But before that, when we're talking about online courses, people think that it's like, oh, this is luxurious. But now it's evident that we need this thing. So I know it's not difficult. It's difficult, but we need to find a way in using our presence on the social media to gain support from those who are willing to support us financially, and also to gain sympathy from young people across the continent. Last question on raising awareness.
Yes.
I still believe that being an example is a great way to raise awareness. Being a model, it's key to raise awareness. And this is important. Platforms such Minds, giving opportunity for young people across the continent to meet and exchange. They could exchange strategies on how to leverage youth participation in governance. Youth need platform to exchange their experiences so it can take up. Otherwise, what context in which you are living in Burkina Faso may not be the same in Senegal nor in Cote d'Ivoire. But when we exchange together, we find out that, oh, there's common vision. Let's stick on that and move forward. So this is what I can say for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Boubacar, for this very important insight. We had some contribution on Facebook, on the social media also from our colleagues, our Minds alumni, Grace Makega. She said political parties can be a well that can propel more young people to political leadership and governance. That is one of the structures that youth can be nurtured politically and gain confidence from the political parties members. I think it is very important. She's also agree with Sarah that youth should be active in their community, running project and initiative, but also young people can join political party that they believe have political ideology that they stand for. As we know that different political parties have different ideology. In terms of ideology, she's agree. If youth are at the same front on the parties, they can join and they can also be engaged on that. I will be back to Sarah for having one question for Sarah about women and politics. If you can, Sarah, share with us what is your point about women in the topic of women and politics from your case study or from your country.
I think on that, allow me to take you back to 1995 during the Beijing conference, where we see the declaration on women's rights and human rights set a historical precedent and the future for women's participation in politics, and not just politics, but all other dimensions, especially for development. And when you look through the 25 years since then, I think there is some progress, although it has only yielded minimum results. You will find that different countries have a number of women in political positions, but does that translate to influence on policies, especially when answering women's questions? I'll speak about how young girls and young women can actively join politics and governance in their respective countries. It's not so different from the general efforts that the young people should take. First of all, I mentioned earlier in my first presentation that we need to be active in our communities and our societies, not just to drop out of the blue when time for election comes up. You see, these voters are also wise. They'll ask you, why now? What do you want to bring on the table that is so different? But your commitment from all stages demonstrates something, demonstrates your capability of thinking about that particular society, of transforming. But I also know that young girls can get inspiration from the politicians that we already have who are women in the different seats. Women who are not just filling up the numbers, but women who are solving social problems. I mentioned earlier that the number of women in political seats may not necessarily influence policies. I'll use an example of a parliament that I understand perfectly, and that is my parliament back home in Uganda. This is not personal, but I think it's on record. We have different districts, and every district has a woman member of parliament. And we assume that that seat was created to advance for women's interests and women's issues. We also have a parliament that for almost 10 years now or so has had a female speaker who directs business. But you find that there are so many challenges that Ugandan women go through right now, especially when it comes to maternal health. We see 15 women dying every day. So to me, basically that means women are not just, they're just in parliament to fill positions, you know, because a position was created and it has to be filled eventually. So someone has to come and run for that chair without necessarily thinking about why that seat was created in the first place. So I think women's participation in politics should be to inspire transformation, first of all, to inspire the young generation so that when girls join politics later, they have a cause, and that's social change, transforming their communities. Girls have role models who are problem solvers, who have created change in the different communities. So while this is, we know that sometimes we do not get what we think in the first place that we're supposed to get, but I should say our generation should be a generation of changing things, especially that 2021 for Uganda is coming up. If I've seen different incumbents have been won in the flag-bearing votes that we just had a few weeks back for Parliament. I think as these young women come in to take these political chairs, they should have a motive to do so. They should know that that chair belongs to the people, and as such, it should create change for the different communities.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I think this is very important insight or input about women and politics. I make a caption on inspired transformation and also inspire young generation to better participate and to promote women participation at different level in politics. And I think it is very important. And actually now in Africa, we saw on different country more engagement, more women engagement in leadership, in politics, taking responsibility at different level on each government. And I think it is very important. Back to you, Barry, before I share my input, before I share my input with you guys, I'm just want to add one question for you, Barry Boubacar, related to about civic participation, youth civic participation in Burkina Faso. When we take the example of Burkina Faso, we see a lot of young people involved on the process. It is just an education, or it is just they want to say stop. We don't need now. We need to stop this kind of things in our country, and we need to change it to go to the election. And if there we have something else can bring on this at the national level.
Yeah, you're right. If you look at the political context of Burkina Faso, young people have been very active because they believe in democracy. They believe that things should be right. There's no way someone will be behaving like the country is his own property. So I do believe that it's quite a part of education, but it's also a quite of an heritage from the former president, Captain Thomas Sankara, because people, this young generation that are now here have read and listen a lot from this. For sure, when uh, this guy was, he died while some of us were still young, but we learned about him. We have, we have seen stories about him. Our fathers and mothers have been talking to us about what he did in this country. And it has been giving us an impression that we, 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 we need to stay at a certain level because this guy did a lot. And if you have Thomas Sankara has a reference, which means that there are some things that you should not allow. You get what the point I'm trying to make? Because he has been a person,
Mm-hmm.
the way he was looking at the country is like the country is the property of all of us. But you don't have the right to be behaving like it's for your own family.
Yeah.
Then we start now having population that are really eager to safeguard the country itself. But within, you still have some young people that are also behaving, not behaving well. That's okay. But I think it's a part of an education, but it's also a part of a story of this country that made us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just want to add one point. It is very important at the observing the continent, observing youth participation and youth around movement, around associations related to civic engagement, and also related to youth participation in the process of election. I think when we took when we have an overview for these last 10 years, I think we had a lot of initiative on the continent from youth from the ground who participated on the election and governance processes in different country. When I take the example of Senegal, we had Yanama in 2012. We also have more and more associations, youth participation, and for the last election, we had a national campaign at the national level, run by youth association like Senegalese Association Alumni AZA, like Yanama, who advocate about my card, my weapon, my card, my weapon, and who make sensibilize and raise awareness to push youth to go to pick their card and go to the election. I think it is very important. We also have within partners, associations, and communicating about what will be a civic engagement from youth. And I think it is very important. I don't know, Katleho, if we had a question on the chat, maybe we can take some questions before.
Okay. For now, we still don't have any questions, but I do have questions of my own. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Boubacar. Thank you, Alhaji, for great discussions and citing various examples with regards to increasing youth participation on the African continent. I think with so many diverse examples, I hope that the people who have joined us today can take this information back and apply it within their own communities or within their own settings, obviously taking into consideration the local context. But in this regard, and this is to all speakers and including the facilitator, I'd like to understand with the disruption of COVID-19. COVID-19 has impacted many sectors, many areas within our own communities. And this will obviously pose a threat into the future because recovery will take much more time. But since we were speaking about elections and governance during COVID-19, what I want to understand is that how have young people, how have political parties, how have independent candidates, how have they rallied their own loyal supporters during this time? Because we must remember that there's been some restrictions, some measures that have been published, like things like social distancing, which election requires us to, engage in a physical space. There's been, like a limit on the number of people at rallies. For an example, in South Africa, it was limited to 50 people. That those kind of things pose a challenge for how politicians or young people rally some of their peers to be involved in the political sphere. So what I want to understand is that how have other young people, or rather political parties, independent candidates, election management bodies, how have they innovatively said, okay, we won't put people's lives in danger, but yet again, the show must continue? I hope that my question is clear.
Yeah, thank you. I think I can give the floor to you, Barry, if you have some additional point on that.
Okay, I got the point. Yes, can you see me? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
What I was mentioning is that it's important. Oh, what's happening to my? Okay, perfect. Yeah, this COVID process has been quite complicated. Huh? There are some rules that member states has taken, and most of the time, even they are the first person to not to follow those rules. Like when Katleo, he was mentioning the restriction of 50%. If I'm not mistaken, in Burkina Faso, it's still the same. We still have the restriction about not having in the same place more than 50 people. But when we look at the process, when the candidate were going to the electoral committee to get engaged, they were accompanied by a lot of citizens going with them. It's definitely more than 50. I'm talking about the major political parties. So those were supposed to give the example there, even those who are not respecting those examples. So there will definitely be a challenge in that. How are we going to handle this thing? This is the time for youth candidate to give the example of respecting the rules. Because you set the stage saying that you will be the person that will be running according to principle. And this is quite important to make sure that the principles that are in place, you by yourself should be respecting those principles. That's the key component. And in some countries, it's very sad to notice that people still believe that this COVID-19 thing is not existing. And they will be running, political parties will be having campaign, they will be meeting people, a lot of people. I don't know what will happen, but this will be definitely a challenge. And this is why we all need to make sure that young people should get into the political space and teach to those leaders that, look, this country will be for us in the next coming years, but you should take care of this country. If you don't take care of this country, we should come in and take care of our own country. I'm getting the point I'm trying to make.
Thank you.
So this is what I can contribute.
Thank you, Boubacar. I have one question for Sarah. how can young people react to toxic politics or participate in such circumstance when you have two extreme parties in a country? From this question from Enojas, from the social media. Sarah?
Pardon, please. I think I lost.
How can young people react to toxic politics or participate in such circumstance when you have two extreme parties in a country?
Okay. Practically, it's challenging, I should say, because we have seen even when young people try to make peaceful rallies, they have been intervened by the regulators, and usually that intervention doesn't end peacefully. I will still use an example of Uganda. We have a public order management bill whereby you have to acquire police permission for you to have a congregation of a given number of people. Based on your reasons, sometimes you're given the permission to go ahead, and then sometimes you're not permitted to do so. And I think that's a bit discriminatory for young people, because the reasons stipulated, sometimes they are not uniform. Like you find in certain cases, someone has been granted the permission, and then in other cases, someone will not be granted the permission on the same reasons. So, borrowing from an example of the Arab Spring, I think young people can devise other means using technology to respond to their political needs. We saw how social media was used fundamentally in the North and Arab states to change leadership. I think we can borrow a leaf on that. All right, politics should not be like a hurdle fight, or it can be peaceful depending on how you choose to disseminate your information, how you choose to spread your campaigning. Obviously, in the current situation, it is hard even to go into a rally because of still the regulations about COVID-19. We are instructed to use the media, to use radio, to use TV, which are practically a bit hard for the young generation. First of all, resources, as I mentioned. Two, the ownership of such media stations may not grant you the permission. Like if you're coming to oppose your candidature and you're the owner of the radio station in our community, which I need to use to spread my information, basically it's going to be hard for me. And you know, in our countries, people have not learned to differentiate between business and personal things. Yeah. So it may be a business. We may look at radio as a business, but still, because it belongs to someone who has political interests, it still becomes hard because of that self-need. So I think responding to toxic politics is quite challenging at the moment because everything seems to be toxic. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah, because while you may not start on a toxic point of view, you may end up in a hostile kind of situation. But I think let's continue to use technology. Let's continue to use peaceful measures. As I mentioned earlier, getting to our communities quite in time is important because you demonstrate your capability. You demonstrate to the voter that leadership is beyond money. even the communities, the society, the people in our communities know what they need. They know that they need sustainable growth. They need sustainable solutions to their challenges, as opposed to the £1, as opposed to the piece of soap or 1 kilogram of sugar that's going to be presented as a token for their vote.
Thank you, Sarah, for this great insight from your view. I think it is very important to be more engaged with our communities, but they know their needs, as you said. And I think it is very important also to leverage and to use digital tools to better promote youth participation in election, in the processes of election and governance. I have one question from participants for you.
Maybe, sorry to cut you off there. Before you go, I would like to use an example of a famous politician right now, a young man, Bobby Wine is a musician known as Bobby Wine, but his name is Chagulanyi Robert. He's a member of parliament.
Bobby Wine from Uganda?
Yes. Yeah, we had a situation where he was jailed for no clear reasons, but young people and the general public took it to social media to demand for his release. So while there's an internet divide between the urban and the rural areas, we cannot underestimate the influence that social media has currently.
Yeah, thank you. And the question for Nonkuleko is, in the context of Shut It All Down protest, which took place in Namibia, can the panelists unpack on how does gender-based violence hinder democratic processes?
Sorry?
On how does gender-based violence hinder democratic processes? When we take the example of Namibia, last time, I think they they shut all down protests. It took place in Namibia. And the question is for panelists, unpack on how does gender-based violence hinder democratic processes?
Okay. I'll speak from a general perspective, not specifically Namibia, because I did not quite follow the demonstration in Namibia, but I can give my insights about democracy versus gender-based violence. We know that in any situation that is a bit unstable, that is a bit chaotic, there is a certain group of people which tends to be more impacted compared to the other. And in this case, women and children, they tend to suffer numerous consequences because of their vulnerability, because of the positions they hold in society. Like when you look at women, they come closer to different communities in every situation. So in terms of gender-based violence, it's really hard to separate it from women. While gender-based violence does not really specifically mean violence against women, it could be violence against also the men, but it tends to affect more women than men. So let me use an example of a political rally that has gone hostile. And we have women in there and children. Before a woman thinks of running for her life, they have to think of saving the child, yeah? And in that case, you find lives of two people have been affected, as opposed to if she was single without a child, she could just run for her life. So gender-based violence tends to affect more women than men, and also children. In most cases, look at the tear gas, look at the when police is trying to disembark or to dismantle demonstrations, women tend to be more affected.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your great insight. We had one comment, inputs from Facebook from Grace Makega. COVID-19 proved that country with strong governance system structure can quickly bounce back to the initial state. For example, I want to share experience on what I have seen one of the country in the world that was most affected by COVID. I have seen the government and private sector coming up with initiative to support its citizens and foreigners residing in that country to return back to normalcy. So it's important that we also be these people who want strong system of governance and following rules of law. I think it is a good point, a good comment on the situation, the impact of COVID-19 in the election and governance at the country level. Thank you, Sarah. We also have one last question. Young people are actively making use of social media. This generation is major saving and consume a lot of content. Why then are they not keeping themselves up to date with the real fact? And why aren't we using the technology to check, to verify fact, especially during the campaign period? From Tessa. I think also that is the question on fake news, relating on fake news. We get a lot of information on social media, like on Facebook and Twitter, but most of them are not very liable. I think also using social medias, using social media globally, and putting content or developing content related to the civic participation for youth on election process need also at least to have a skills to check if it is if it is clear, or if it is really, or if it is a fake news. I don't know. I saw Richard who joined us. Richard, if you hear me, we will be very happy to have your input on how innovative and practical solution toward the reduction of voter apathy among African youth. Richard, you have the floor. Richard?
Hello, Richard, can you hear us?
So I think...
Okay, I don't think his mic is on. You can continue, Alhaji.
Okay. One question, maybe one point about using social media, using such kind of platform like social media, and also related to the fake news. Yugbare Bubakar, if you have point on that, on how we can use social media to better verify the information that we got on these channels.
Yeah, true. It has been a challenge over the past years because on internet you can see everything. It's not because there was a perception in some of the countries that when something is on internet, it's like reliable. And then like someone is saying, I used to listen to young people saying, have you seen that this information is out? Where have we seen it? And so no, it is already on Facebook, on internet. It's not because it is on internet that it's true. And young people have been very active on social media, very, very keen to this, verifying this real fact and all these things. The question that was mentioned is what? Why are we not using it during campaign time or during governance period? It looks like we are more directed into fashion, into pupil or tendance or something, I don't know, we call it what we want, football, music, and all these things. But when it comes to matters concerning the governance of the city, people are like, okay, this is not my business. This is a big mistake. It should be our business. It is our business.
it even first, we're the first owner of this business. Let me say it that way. And it's important that we continue to use the tools that we are using on social media to check fact, like on football. The last time Real Madrid scored a lot of, or Barcelona scored a lot, I don't even know. Let's use the opportunity of these skills on social media to hold accountable some politician. If you said during the last campaign that you're going to build a dam, and now you are running again, we need to make sure to go and check if the dam that you promised is there or not. If it's not there, you should be held accountable on that, because you're lying to people. And this is important. That's what I'm saying. Since we are already present on social media, why don't we use the opportunity of being present on social media to leverage our knowledge and to enhance our civic participation in the way the city is governed? These are key critical questions that we should ask ourselves, and I think young people can use this opportunity to be on the politics space. No matter how, we need to be there somehow, because our future is being decided there. So it's always better for us to be there. Make sure that it's guaranteed that we are getting a better future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yugbare. I don't know if Richard hear us.
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, Richard.
Yes, we can finally hear you.
Yeah, we are very happy to have you on the boat and have your input about how to introduce innovative and practical solution towards the reduction of voter apathy among African youth.
Among African youth?
Yes.
Well, actually, the African youth is still facing a lot of challenging right now regarding participation in politics. Because, in politics, there are people who are older than us, especially around the 60s, 70s. Anyway, they take this like a retirement fund job for them. And this is a very challenging for us in the African to join politics. Because if you compare it to other countries around Africa, you will see that most of the leaders are above 50s or 60s onwards. It's really rare to see a young leader. The question that we need to ask, I think, today is why they are afraid of young African leaders. I think this is a question that we need to put to the table. Can we get an answer for that as well?
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I don't know, Katleho, if we have some additional questions.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Alhaji. So for now, there aren't any questions, even from social media. But before we finish, I just want to say, I thank you very much. But before we close off, can I at least, have a closing round from all the speakers on what you think going into the future should be done, to increase youth participation in elections and governance. I mean, of course, you have mentioned the fact that people need to be brave, people need to be motivated, people need to have courage, to enter the political arena, whether they run as contenders or whether they do mobilize their own peers, in the process, or they even mobilize their own peers based on the political party they are part of. But I just like each and every one of you to close off by saying, what do we do for the future? I think each and every panelist can answer that question. How can we make sure that increasing youth participation, in elections and governance takes priority, especially at a continental level, not just only at a national level, because I also feel like this is an opportunity for all of us to encourage each other and to mobilize each other. So if you can start, Alhaji, maybe just, your close, and then followed by Richard, followed by Boubacar, and then Sarah, if she can. I think she is running late, but in that order, could you please just give us, your perspectives on what should be done in the future to make sure that youth participation in elections and governance is basically put on the agenda?
Yeah, I think it is very important very important questions. My point on that is to continue to raise awareness about youth participation, the importance of youth participation in election and governance in our different country. This for me the first step. The second step is on how we can structure a network, a hook network, Pan-African network of civil movement or youth movement, and how we can work together. We had similar cases in different countries. In Senegal, we had some associations in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in DRC, in Ethiopia, in Kenya, in South Africa. We can share more? Can we create a big platform, continental platform, and to better implement our strategy for promoting youth participation in election and governance? And the last step is education. Without no education in civic engagement for our youth, it will be very hard to engage them on the process. I think education must have an important key place on the process that we can use to leverage. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you very much. I don't know, Sarah, are you still with us? Hello, Sarah?
Hello.
Yes. I was just asking for each and every panelist to finish off, to close off the round. So since you should be leaving us right now, I just wanted to ask you, moving into the future, how do we make sure that this topic, this specific theme for increasing youth participation in elections and governance processes is put on the continental, whether at a national, regional, or even continental level? How do we make sure that our leaders take priority in this regard?
Yeah. First of all, we have to know that things have changed. Leadership is no longer for the old, but also for everyone who is of age. So for the African continent to build sustainable democracies, to build leadership systems that are inclusive, we need to listen to different groups of people. We need to listen to women. We need to listen to the youth. We need to listen to the elderly. We need to listen to the people with disabilities for us to be called inclusive. So, and then to the young generation, meaningful participation should follow 3 phases, as I mentioned in the beginning: pre-election period, the election period itself, and the post-election period itself. So we should follow all these procedures adequately. We should be engaged in each and every level. We shouldn't just show up at the end. Politics, as it sounds, and then leadership, they're 2 different things. You can be a leader, but not a politician. But your leadership experiences and your leadership abilities can groom you to be a problem-solving politician. So let's use our experiences to translate to our political abilities, so that when we get there finally, we do not just fill the chairs. That's what I should say for now.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And then passing it on to you, Richard. Can you hear us? Hello, Richard? Okay, I don't think he can hear us. Bobaka, can you please just close it off?
So, yes, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
No. Hello, you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
So, like I said before, you need to encourage you to participate in politics, in election as well. Okay. So,
Okay, Richard, I think it's cut us, but it's okay. Bobaka, I think you can step in and just close off right now.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Bobaka. And then if Richard comes back, he can close off. It's okay. You can start.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I would like to build on what Sarah just said.
I'm back.
Okay.
Oh yes, you can speak after Bobaka. He was just adding comment.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
She said, "It's not being a politician does not mean that you are a leader. But if you are a leader, it can lead you to being a problem-solving politician. It's important. That's why I was saying for us to be able to be on the political arena, we need to be models. We need to be examples. Because when you get there, we should not be seen as people like that are just coming to fill the seats, but people that are coming to bring on board innovative approaches, innovative ideas to provide social services to the citizen. Because at the end of the day, the aim of politics is to bring a better life to the citizen. If you are not able to bring something new or something essential, I don't see the importance of us being on the political arena. But then we should not forget one thing. We need to be there. Because there is the place where the future of the country is being decided. So we need to sit down there. It's also the same thing at the continental level. If decisions are taken at the continental level, on us, we should be there. It's like saying nothing should be discussed about us without us. That's the point. And I think organizations like mine should continue giving spaces for experience sharing. It's important for young people to be able to discuss the issues, and they will see that they are facing the same challenges. If they are facing the same challenges, if someone from Burkina Faso is facing the same challenges as someone in Chechnya or in Senegal or in Mauritius, I don't know. It means that the solution should come in a way where we can have like a continental approach or a regional approach. If the problem is regional, let's have a regional approach. If the problem is continental, let's have a continental approach. But at least let's have a platform where we share our experience, and let's get there to make sure that we also make our voice heard.
Thank you very much. Amplify youth voices and contributions across the continent. Thank you very much, Bobaka. Richard, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes. You can close it off by telling us, like, moving into the future, how can we put the youth agenda in basically increasing youth participation in elections and governance on the African agenda? How can we put focus on it and make sure that our leaders take us seriously as young people and take this issue as a priority?
Yes, like I said before, first of all, there are big challenges before us. That is the people like the word, sorry to use that word, dictators sometimes. They're still roaming around, and sometimes it makes the life of the youth very difficult to join politics or good governance or even election. So I think the youth need more support in that domain, especially about how to handle this and how to go about it. Because it's not easy for us to join politics and election, especially when they are talking about the past. They want us to believe in their own agenda, in their own past, and some of the youth are sometimes fall in that trap. But like I'm always say, the youth need to have freedom to choose what is best for them. So in that same line, I think in that same way, they can choose sometimes wisely and choose the correct one to go with it. So I think that you need more like coaching, especially because, like I'm said, in politics you are rivalry with people with experience, like they don't want to leave power. So this is the most challenging. Like Seychelles is a small island state, and we are having only 19,000 inhabitant population. So that is compared the smallest in the world. So lately we're having a lot of youth who are coming forward from different parties, different group to join in politics. But they always not go to the finish line because, like I'm said, the challenging with the one who have experience and with the one who don't want to leave the power. So that's where the part of the challenging come. But the good thing I would like to say today, I will congratulate the MIDS for that initiative to bring the youth of Africa together. I remember my meeting with MIDS. It's still a very great souvenirs in my mind, especially when all the youth across the globe, we joined together on the table and put everything on the paper. So it's a very memorable time in our lives for us to discuss different parts of our countries, challenging and also aspiration for the youth to join to make the world a better way. Because most of the time the youth are being challenging with a lot of social illness, but I think it's the time for the youth to show the world that we can play part of our country, about our governance, and also about democracy. So I think means need to do more job like this. I know we are not in a good time right now with the COVID-19 whatever. So, but I think you should be more proactive to take on board many youths that you can meet. But at Seychelles, we have not much. I think we are only 5 of us because, like I say, we are a small population. We know every movement of everyone. So I know we have 5 of us who join meets, and I can see in the future one of them for sure will take the lead to be a politician, to make the voice. I can say that Tessa is the one actually that I follow up very closely because she's very vocal about democracy, very vocal about good governance. Sometimes she's been penalized, but she's never stopped it. And I think people like this in the future will make the youth in a better world. Like I'm said, we need coaching and we need encouragement as well for us to go further because we need to be the leader of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. And thank you to each and every one of you speakers for availing yourself today and, sharing your experiences, sharing your own ideas, I understand that, these are some of the challenges that you have encountered, but I like the fact that you have also listed some of the opportunities that are there. For example, I'd like to say to Bobaka, one thing that you mentioned is that people will discourage other young people in running for elections due to a number of factors, whether it's money or not. But one must have the courage to express their will, to participate in the democratic process. It's very important. It's it's something that has been enshrined within the Constitution, but it's a God-given right at the end of the day to go vote and express your will. Coming back to what Sarah says, that one of the problems within our society is that because young women and kids are the most vulnerable, they are sort of discouraged from participating, and in many cases, other young women or women in general who want to join politics are just given a seat for the sake of it, not because they can contribute something more important in that, and that should stop. And I think that it's important for us to support all genders and all groups who we think that can make an impact within their societies. Like Alhaji has said, like you have mentioned a number of examples, from Senegal, just like the Yana Ame, these are young people who said enough is enough. They were tired of the governance situation in their countries, and some of them wanted jobs, some of them wanted to do better in their lives, and that's why they took the steps that they took at the end of the day. And coming to Richard as one of the people who will be running for elections in his country this month in the Seychelles. He's running for a seat in parliament. So, we understand that this is a challenge. He's saying that he's running against all the people. So can you imagine, these are some of the people who already have the resources, who already have the following. But he said, you know what, let me throw my name into the hat and run for these elections. So I think it also goes back to what Boubacar was saying, that be an inspiration, be a model. And that's what Richard is already doing. He's becoming a model, and he's already campaigning, speaking to a number of young people. And with that said, would like to wish you good luck, Richard. And we hope that you can share as much as you can about your campaign, even connecting with the Minds alumni. You can engage further with other Minds alumni on how they can maybe support you or even encourage you, or what kind of strategies you can take from them and implement within your campaign. And we hope that Boubacar, I know that these elections you're not going to be part of, but the next upcoming elections, we hope very well that you will also contest. Hopefully, Sarah, at some point you will also take up a seat, whether in parliament, or whether as an executive. And Al-Haji, we also trust that you will do that, in the future, especially who knows, since you are in entrepreneurship, you could even go, be selected to handle small businesses within your country, because I think that those are some of the most important things that we should focus on. So, Minds alumni, ladies and gentlemen, our attendees, those who watched on social media, thank you very much for joining us. Please let the conversation not stop here. The conversation should be extended even further on other platforms, and they should be discussed. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope that you will have a good evening. Asante sana.